Hi, Juan.
Right?
Well, um, welcome to the nest, everybody. I have Juan here, and as you can see, this is all his creation. And we're going to do 5 questions with Juan. Question one: what is nest?
Well, it's a tough question. The nest is it's basically a dream. Like I had all my life of doing something that it's meaningful and can contribute to change the world and for into a better place. And after traveling, I realized like I can put some of my ideas somewhere, and then that might be making a good contribution. And since it's hard to know where to start, the place I decided to start is my own hometown, which is where we are right now. I I was raised and grew up in this land over here, which was a cattle pasture,
Mm-hmm.
and then we started modifying a little bit when we had
Mm-hmm.
a chance, and then just to build what we have right now.
Okay. So tell me, where exactly is this?
This is located in northern part of Costa Rica. It's a small town called Monte Cristo. It belongs to a larger town that is called Aguas Sarcas, and then that's part of Alajuela, one of the 7 provinces of Costa Rica. It's about 2 hours away from the airport, and like make Jacobin from here. Sorry, the
Can't
the
help his burning. Okay.
the yeah, so it's a convenient location. It's not too far from the airport. It's not too far from clinics, hospitals, and places, and
Okay.
it has the right elevation in the right slope to have like a.
How high? What elevation are we
We
in?
are 500 meters above sea level,
Okay.
so which is like 1,500 feet, um, and then that gives chances for a high diversity of birds, plants, insects, everything. The only problem is that it's been highly deforested, thanks to the
Okay.
cattle. Everybody here does cattle. My family used to do coffee, and then they
Okay.
cut it down and make it cattle.
Okay.
And I saw all this property as a cattle farm all
Okay.
my childhood.
All right. That's pretty cool. And then you already told us what is the main reason for creating the nest.
Um, yeah, probably the main reason was like seeing how most of the like conservation efforts are very focalized, very local. I mean, local in certain areas of the country where there is tourism.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're visiting the country and you go like to Arenal, the Osa Peninsula, and then you will see a lot of successful stories of protecting the forest. But living here, being from here, like if you go outside of those, exceptions, you find like everywhere else is being on heavy pressure of cutting down the forest to make open land because the people need to eat.
Yes,
At
of
the
course.
end, you know, there's a lot of relying on the economy. Like people need to eat. So if you cannot, eat the forest, you need to cut it down, put cattle, and then you can sell the cattle and buy
Mm.
food. So I saw that in my hometown, and I
Okay.
saw the deforestation going on and moving on, progressing faster than any conservation initiatives in
So
here.
you would say this would make a, I can see that myself, it will make a bigger difference compared to just, I mean, there's the editorial side of it, but I think this is the actual true sense, physically establishing something like this and working towards a better planet. I feel this is.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we're trying to do. Like we're trying to be a subject of change
Mm.
in an area where there's no tourism. There's nothing of tourism in here. There is some environmental conscience, but if you don't have like a motivation, like an economic motivation to do it, you're not likely to do it. So
Yeah.
what we're doing is transforming a cattle pasture into a forest as fast as possible with the birds in our heads, in our minds. On every planning we do, we have birds and wildlife in our heads, and then with that we can have a subject of conservation in where at the same time can create revenue out of our efforts to protect, to restore the forest,
Okay.
and that's that's in a nutshell what it's the nest.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
as shortened as you can do it. Yes. The next question that I have for you is, how did it come together? Who's involved? How did it all come together for you, and how much time did it take?
Well, this all came together when when I it's interesting. I got to this number, and I asked my mom. My mom has this property for like many years, like 40, 50 years, as of, coffee and then cattle. And one day when I was a teenager, I asked my mom how much she was getting paid for the rent of the whole 5 hectares, and transforming it to today, it was $100 per year, being paid. So which it was ridiculous because I said like $100 per year, not per month, per year. So that's nothing, I can pay that. And then I realized I did it. I paid that for a few months, and then I realized, well, I will do an effort to actually buy the property from my mom, and then I did it over a period of years. And then that I realized like most people here is getting paid like really low for their land, and then like if you can like equal that amount or surpass that amount with whatever wildlife based income you can have, like restoration income, you will create a big change in this gradient that is heavily impacted. And there are national parks nearby, so it's a matter of connecting the dots, and you can create a nice corridor with really nice birds,
Okay.
and probably very attractive to many people if you do the things right.
Okay. I think this would link with the entire community if they can get to it. And, as far as economically, as you said, revenue will build up. They'll realize, the value they will bring in if they do what you did.
Yeah.
Not exactly, but connect just interlink,
Mhm.
connecting all of it.
Yeah, the whole idea of calling it the Nest Nature Center instead of lodge or instead of whatever park,
Yeah.
it's with an idea of being at least looking open and inviting to the local people. So local people, in the perfect future of the place, local people can perfectly enter here, see what we're doing, copy it, and paste it in their own properties,
Yeah.
and then get
Yeah.
the same benefits. The whole idea is this is not gonna be like the one
So-
place. The whole
so
idea is
instead
to be
of
replicated.
cutting down trees and making huge resorts, you're creating a miniature version where there's not a whole lot of construction. It's inbuilt, which is creating more space for forests, for birds and animal life, rather than just cutting the opposite way of doing it, which is cutting down the forest and creating resorts and inviting people. So
Yeah.
that makes sense. What is next for Nest?
Well, it's it's complicated. What I have, it's hard to know what is going to be next because we need to create something the neighbors can replicate. It has to be cheap, easy, and it has to be, good for what the future of, birding, bird watching, bird photography will be. So right now what we think is that we're creating a lot of spaces for the wildlife to be observed, photographed, enjoy it in as many ways as possible. We do think the future of all type of like bird photography and bird watching will be digital, will be virtual. So that's one thing we are focusing in the long term. It's having all these spaces with the fastest possible internet, the electricity everywhere, and then start creating spaces where we can research and develop new ways to enjoy wildlife and birds remotely, so people can connect from home, photograph the birds from home, and then watch birds from home, and then that in a long term, I think is going to be an easy way to be replicated by all neighbors. If you only have Wi-Fi, you can show your birds. You don't
Yeah.
have to build a big, nice, fancy 5-star room. You can just like connect to Wi-Fi and show a nice bird, and someone can photograph it from China. I think that's probably again, it's something that is very complicated to do. I'm frustrated and not knowing where to go in this, but I think if I put the best of my creativity, I think we will be able to achieve that.
Okay.
At least the prototypes of how you enjoy that, how you do that in a short term, and then in the long term we can monetize that and replicate it in an area and see if that can be a model of development for the future.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your time, Juan.
My
Explaining.
pleasure. Come
All the
anytime.
best for all your plans in the future. And I'm going to link everything about the nest below, where they can reach to you and how they can connect with you and how they can support you.
Thank you. Thank you. Everybody's invited here. It's a place for everybody, open for everybody, and hopefully,
Everybody
it,
comes.
yeah, and pretty soon it will be online everywhere. So